Hello and welcome back to the channel. So in this time at the moment we're all sort of under stress and pressure and that because obviously everyone's in lockdown at the moment, so we're all stuck indoors. I'm stuck at home with well, I'm still working because I'm still required to work because of my role, but all the kids are off in the UK at the moment, so I've got the kids here, so there might be a bit of background noise and there's them playing games and whatever running around. But I'll get on with it anyway because we've got to move on, we just got to get on with things. And the gaming world's no different. So let's move on to my first bit of news. PS5 graphics beaten by Xbox Series X in shocking left field analysis. Now this is an analysis that came out earlier in the week. And let me scroll down to it. It was made by a notebook check, reported that the gap between the Xbox X and PS5 graphical capabilities would likely result in Microsoft's console being 30% more powerful than its Sony rival. The outlet published the following as part of its comparison between the two consoles. Sony's claim that high clock speeds offset its meager shader allocation on the PlayStation 5 doesn't hold water when Navi overclocking results are factored in. And they went into more detail on this. Due to non-linear performance clock scaling, the likely performance deficit between the two consoles is in the 25 to 30% range, which may have a major impact on 4K performance. Now that is interesting. I think the thing to take from this is it may not. I think PS5 will still be able to manage 4K native, but I think in turn it may affect the frame rates of games. So while holding 4K native, I think at the best you're going to get is a 60 FPS. Whereas on Xbox Series X, there's been a few devs and a few people come out and said they're pushing actually for 120 FPS on some titles, 4K 120. So that'll be interesting to see how that develops going forward. So that's the first bit of news there. Very positive about Xbox. Unfortunately, this is sort of there's not many instances of this because a lot of Xbox is coming out with a lot of good news lately. The media is trying to help Sony because Sony have sort of got nothing at the moment. They're just coming out with really poor conferences and sort of shows. So the media seems to be jumping to their help at the moment, trying to sort of bail them out of hot water. So let's have a look at another. So as I said, we've got several media sites coming out with nonsense like this. Halo Infinite leads Xbox Series X lackluster list of launch titles. So I find this extremely interesting considering Sony have not come out with any launch titles. They've not said anything. Whereas Xbox have come out and said they've got Halo Infinite, Forza Horizon 8 is a big possibility. They've got Microsoft Flight Sim. They possibly could have a new title like Fable on the horizon. Whereas Sony have come out with nothing. And this media site seems to think Xbox is going to be lackluster, which is very interesting indeed why they should take that approach. And there's across the board, there's a lot of media sites coming out and just trying to downplay Xbox and its games, and you've got to question why. And a lot of people say there's no bias, but this is clear bias right there. That's clear bias right there. But let's talking of games. Let's move on to the games because there's been a lot of talk about games. So on the back of that, this is, or say old, it's about 4 months old. Report claims PS5 won't have any major exclusive games at launch. This is on the back of that last media thing I showed you, saying about the Xbox is lackluster. A rumour claims that PlayStation 5 will have no major exclusives at launch, giving the Xbox X Series a much better launch. So the interesting thing about this is Sony haven't yet still come out with any games that they're going to launch other than Godfall, which is a timed exclusive. They've no games of their own, no first-party games. They have in the past talked about making more games multi-plat and sort of steering away from exclusives, which I believe is their way forward. And why wouldn't they do that? They're starting to put more games on PC. There's some games now going to Xbox, like the Yakuza series and MLB The Show. And last year they reported that they will be supporting PS4 for 3 more years. This was last year, so 3 more years. So they're probably going to be supporting the PS4 until 2022, which most likely their games will be cross-gen, so won't have exclusives. They have come out and said no, they will have exclusives for PS5, However, they're sort of giving contradicting information at the moment. There's some reports are saying they're not going to have anything. Some are saying they are. But the fact of the matter is that they still haven't shown any games yet. And you know, we're only 6 months away from the next generation. They've come out and done a really lackluster speech about the console, not really giving any information, and they're leaving their fans in the dark at the moment about the whole thing. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, Sony really are sort of following the Xbox model now. Since Phil took over and the Xbox has made a big shift in sort of how they do things, Sony are kind of following suit of it. I mean, in 2017 they come out and said hardware's not their main meta now. It's going to be monthly active users, even though their fan base still quote hardware unit sales, which they have very high sales of unit consoles. But at the end of the day, it's monthly active users, which is a better metric to use, and to see how many players are engaged in your system and playing your system at one time. I mean, let me give you a good example of that. So here is my example. This site called, I think you have to register to it, GameStat, and it gives you information on all games. Anyway, this shows you active users, monthly active users, new players, and total player count on PS4, or on games generally on the PS4, which do include games that are cross-gen. So there you go, here's the top games on the PS4 people are playing right now, because it's like up to date, more or less. It's about a week old. There we go, look at this. Right, firstly, to point out, you notice there's no player PS4 exclusives. I mean, people can say, oh, it's a PS4 exclusive, but it's, I mean, that's counting across 2 consoles. It's just a remaster, really. Not until you get down to Spider-Man here. There we go, see? So monthly people playing that game is 1,100,000, which is great. Great. But I mean, when you grand scale of things, when people talk about 110 million consoles sold, you know. But this is great. But this is why, when you look at Minecraft, it's had 61 million people play it. Grand Theft Auto has 128 million people playing it. That's numbers. But this is why people go to active users rather than sales, because sales won't reflect how many people are actually playing the game. This will also account for people, because this accounts for monthly users. So if I was playing a game and I played the game, so I'd account as a user, but then I sold that game and then someone else played it, they would also count as a month active user as well. Whereas sales don't follow resales. So sales can be skewed of games, you see, where active users are accurate, are actually existent players. So that's why these numbers will be higher than the actual game sales, because it takes into account people have sold the game and then someone else has picked the game up and they're playing it. So in some cases, like if it's the same week, for example, it will register on here, won't it? So yeah, it's God of War, 770,000 people playing that. This month, but we will notice on here, I mean, Days Gone, a total only had just under 6 million people playing it. So, you know, did that game do well? Would you say that game did well? 6 million people played it total overall. When you look at Sea of Thieves, it's got 10 million players, and then Sea of Thieves got a lot of hate, but Days Gone, it's only got 6 million. Sea of Thieves got 4 million players more than Days Gone. It's probably got more now, Sea of Thieves. I mean, the last thing I saw of that was last year. So it's probably even higher. And then, well, you know, we'll notice not on here is games like Dreams, Death Stranding. They're not on here. So Nia's, that's just recently come out. That's only got 380,000 people playing it. So a lot of hype over that game. But Gran Turismo's only had 10 million playing it overall. So when you look into the grand scheme of things of consoles sold and things like that, it don't really mean much. That's why the companies are now, just like Sony, as they had stated, as I showed, are now looking to active users, because it's a more accurate representation of player base. And if you can increase your active user base, that's better for games, because you want to keep people attached to your console, keep people playing your console, playing your games on your console. Then you can enter microtransactions. This is where people get upset because microtransactions they will consider evil. They're not all evil. Play to win microtransactions are bad. Yes, they are horrible things. They shouldn't be in games. But cosmetics, what harm they do? What harm they do you if someone else buys so the character looks different from you? Or what harm is it doing you in your game? It's having no dire effect of your gameplay if someone else has different costume than you. I generally buy microtransactions on Game Pass games because I'm paying £60 for the year. That means games cost less than £1 on Game Pass. That I don't then mind spending what I would normally spend £60 on a game, some money on microtransactions, and that's where your money comes in. As everyone knows, these companies like Fortnite and stuff thrive on microtransactions, and they make a load of money. Grand Theft Auto achieves £60 release, and it has microtransactions and pay to win microtransactions as well. But no one seems to complain about Grand Theft Auto. But then Grand Theft Auto is sort of one of the the gods of gaming where no one will challenge them. I mean, there's load times on that game are horrible. That's why I can't even play the game. Are horrible, but no one ever sort of really grumbles about it because they like the game too much. But there we go. That's my point about active users. Now you can see the PS4. What games are popular, what games are not, really. And all the talk about exclusives. Well, you're all playing Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, and FIFA by the looks of it, and Minecraft, which is owned by Xbox. Anyway, let's move on to my next topic. So moving on with some more Sony news. Sony wants playing PS5 games to be as easy as Netflix. No, they're not doing a Netflix style game passes on Xbox. What they're thinking, this is already well worded well at all really, but they want to set their console dashboard up to be more like Netflix, so you can just select a game and jump straight into it basically, and that's what they're hoping to do with their SSD. So yeah, as I said, the news editor said, I have heard some fascinating things about PS5's operating system like this. One of the pitches they've been making to developers is playing PS5 games should be easy as Netflix. They want to make players feel like they can load up the game immediately and know exactly how much time a given activity is going to take them. The only thing with that is it's fine if you're digital games or you're playing games of a service, but if you own the games, if they're hard copies of games, you can't really switch between games like that. You have to have them downloaded digitally, because unless the thing's going to take out your disc or you have loads of discs into your system at once, so that's not really going to work for physical copies. Only digital, so they're probably going to push for digital as well. Schreier goes on to state that the Japanese giant wants people to feel more inclined to play games in short bursts rather than wait until they have a handful of hours spare. And that's the other issue with Sony games, that a lot of them are big, massive campaigns with long, drawn-out cutscenes and stuff, and you can't just jump into a game for 5 minutes and jump out of it like you can with a lot of Xbox titles. I mean, I could jump on Bleeding Edge and play it for one round of it and then jump out of it and then jump into something else and jump out of it. Their games, you are more inclined to you committing sort of an hour at least to playing a game. So that's an interesting bit of news there. But alongside, there's also this information here, alongside a new PS5 patent which suggests trophies, in-game achievements and unlockables could be displayed on the next console's dashboard. It sounds like Sony is cramming as much information onto its new home screen as possible. It's still to still ensure speed and reliability, however. So that's that information. It's quite interesting, fairly. Information is a little bit more interesting and a little bit more weird. Sony wants to make every PS5 game multiplayer with cloud controller sharing. Cloud controller doesn't exist, I was told by a certain fan base. There's no such thing as cloud. It's all in your heads. Right, so what they're proposing to do, Sony, is they want their games, take the multiplayer, play their games multiplayer with a pinch of salt. They don't really want you to play their games multiplayer. What they actually want you to do is they want multiple people to be able to use the same controller. I know, this sounds weird. They explain it best. The patent details the ability to split a set of controls up and assign segments to up to 4 players, either locally or online. For example, one player is on the sticks, player 2 has the face buttons, and player 3 is in charge of the triggers. You'd each have a PS5 controller, but you'd each be in charge of certain commands. It sounds mad and it might be fun for certain types of games, but we're not sold on this one. and neither am I. I cannot see it. This is just Sony. You're just wasting your money doing patents and things like this. Who's going to possibly use that? Who's going to want to sit and play a game where you're all controlling the same controller? It's just bizarre. A bizarre waste of money. Sony seems to put themselves forward for these things, and it just doesn't work. So that's an interesting bit of news, which I find is weird and is bizarre, as they say. Would you want write in the comments below? Would you want to sort of 3 of your friends all play one game on the PS4, but all sort of control this one control sort of? Oh, let's move on to the next bit of news. So on to Sony's next bit of news. Seem to have a lot of Sony news recently, well this week. Not great news though, unfortunately. Nothing about games or anything like that. It's just stuff like this. They're saying that the PS5 will be better energy consumption than the PS4. It will consume less power than the PS4 suspended gameplay, and they go in to say how much if you really care. I mean, yes, it's great for the planet and all that, but I'm not sure if it's a thing to sort of to throw at gamers. I don't think when you're in a shop and you're thinking, what console should I buy? Well, that one's got really powerful, but that one's saves energy. It's good for the planet. I'm going to go with that one. It's just not something you do really. And I don't know why sort of Sony's coming out with stuff like this when they should really just be announcing what games. And this kind of information just should be a given really. This is just yes, your console should use less energy. It uses a lot of energy at the moment. It should use less the next generation. Is a given. Now tell us about the games. But let's move on to some more information. So the final bit of news is this. Unfortunately, some media think the Xbox lineup is lackluster, but still Xbox don't care and they're getting on with it, getting on with their lives. And the Halo Infinite devs are working from home to deliver the Xbox Series X launch title on time, because obviously everyone's in lockdown now. So yes, this is going to be bigger than games and bigger than Halo. Halo Infinite developer 343 Industries is working from home to deliver the game in time for its late 2020 release date. Oh, pardon me. The developer revealed in a blog post that due to COVID-19 concerns, Microsoft has instructed the studio to work from home. However, the team is continuing to work on Halo Infinite remotely to deliver the game for its scheduled release window, which is amazing. That's like incredible. Especially on the Sony side, you've been talking about a lot of crunch and stuff, and they're putting a lot of pressure on their devs. Working from home, it's not much pressure at all, really, is it? You lost the pressure, but you're still getting something done. In fact, I'm not sure why all these companies don't sort of just work from home as standard anyway. If you can, a lot of companies in the UK, especially, as you sort of go into work from home and sort of more freedom in work to stop, because you spend 2 or 3 hours. All I do is 2 or 3 hours travelling. I'd rather spend that time, at least half of that, working. So it gives me more free time at home to do my other thing. I'd rather not spend 3 hours travelling around just to go to work, and But as I said, yes, they're still working on the game, so it's going to be on time. So this don't look like there's going to be much of a delay on the game at all. Well, the console's been delayed is another thing, but the game will be on time and will be top notch. So going back to Sony, is this why we've not heard anything from Sony? So there we go for this week's news. I hope you're all being safe and you're all well and all the family's all good. Please drop a share, share on Twitter, share it wherever you can. Please drop a comment, please drop a like and a sub if you can. Thank you all for watching. God bless you all for everything that's to come in the coming weeks and stuff with this bloody virus. And hopefully see you all here again next week. Goodbye for now.